Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Risponi. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Lucy Risponi. I'm over the hiring at our company, and I'm just so glad that you're able to come in today for this interview. We're very enthusiastic about meeting you. I can see that you have a very long history with internal auditing around the Baton Rouge area. I too am an internal auditor and have been doing it for a very long time, so I'm sure we have some of the same situations and stuff. I would like to get to know you a little bit better by just asking you a few questions
Sure.
today, if you wouldn't mind answering. It shouldn't take too long. Everything in our interview today will be confidential. Please just feel free to answer however you would like and just elaborate.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, yes, it's so good to have you here. My first question, I would just like to start off by if you would just give me an example of a previous project that you may have organized, or just an example of when you set up internal controls, as that is very important as an internal auditor.
Yeah, I've seen it very important in some businesses that I've been in, and also charitable work. When I was working at another firm in town, we were asked to be the internal auditor for a capital campaign that they were undertaking. It was a $25 million capital campaign to build a Catholic church in the area, and they set up a building committee, a finance committee, and also the marketing committee that was going to eventually raise the money. I was asked at a very early age to sit on with the executive in our company on the finance committee and learned a real, I would say, a ton of information about internal auditing in that arena.
That's awesome. That's very good to hear, as that is a very important part of our job. Another question that I have for you, it's obviously very strong. I mean, it's very important to have a strong financial analysis ability when working in our company. Do you have any financial analysis experience that may have prepared you for this role?
Yeah, I have a little bit. I worked in the acquisitions and merger section before. I would say in the second or third year that I was working for this company, and it was also in the Baton Rouge area. I was tasked to help the partner work on this merger that they were working on with a company out of Arkansas, and learned a wealth of information that I could share with you if you'd like to know more information.
I would love to know more. I would love to talk to you maybe after our interview more about that. That seems
Sure.
very interesting.
Okay.
Was there ever a time that you felt that your integrity was challenged? Or how did you handle this type of situation maybe at a different company?
It sounds odd, but it wasn't in a work setting really. Very early on, it was in a golf setting. As a matter of fact, we were playing with a customer, and the customer actually tried to put down a score on the scorecard that wasn't true, and so I kind of challenged that and didn't really go over very well with the customer.
No.
I felt like it was
Yes.
my duty to challenge that.
Yes, I agree too. I mean, I feel like honesty is a very important part
Yeah.
of our job, and it's very just important to always, be the best person you can be. Another question is, can you describe a time that you were maybe faced with a complex problem or situation? Can be anything, work related, non-work related. And how did you handle this problem, and what led you to make that sort of decision?
A complex problem. I guess what I've learned in business is you have to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're faced with a complex problem, you have to go back to what I guess the charter or the mission of what you were trying to accomplish is,
Mm-hmm.
and then prioritize it, and then just work through the problem that way.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
that's very important. It's always, in my experience, it's always been better just to simplify the issue and then tackle it in steps from there. Mhm.
Yep.
Um, this role is a very considerable amount of multitasking, being able to back and forth from different tasks and stuff. Um, what would you consider are the vital keys of being a good multitasker?
I would go back to being able to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's very important when you're multitasking. It's you can only give so much energy towards one endeavor that you're trying. So going back and understanding what your mission is, and understanding that you probably going to need to give 80% of that to based on the goals and the schedule of what you're trying to accomplish. I would say prioritization is very important when multitasking.
Yes. Would you think that's one of your good skills that you have? Like, would you consider that?
I think I'm considered a good multitasker, but I also like to be very, very organized. And I would say being a collaborator and team builder would probably be my biggest attribute.
Yes. which leads us right into our next question. Innovation and collaboration are obviously very important for a company to be successful, especially in our type of business. Was there a specific time that you collaborated effectively with another team member?
Collaboration is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in my career, they just kind of put you in an intern pool and you're having to learn to collaborate, and also you're competing. So learning to, I guess, celebrate people's strengths and weaknesses and understanding what yours are was very, very important early on. And I think it's helped me to be a good collaborator as I moved along in my career.
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering those questions. I know they were very specific.
Thanks
Just
for having me.
of course, more broad questions that I'd like to just get into. I know that obviously you've been in the business for about 20 years. Internal auditing can obviously be very stressful. How do you deal with stress just in your everyday life?
I find stress is something that happens when you're not necessarily prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So the pressure of just being in business is kind of always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've kind of prided myself on always being prepared, and stress has never really gotten to me.
Good to hear. Good to hear. What interests you the most about internal auditing?
I love numbers.
Mhm.
I mean, just plain and simple, I just love numbers and analysis.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's kind of what got me through college and picking a career, because numbers were always just so interesting to me. And I always knew that I wanted to work in numbers, as I'm sure you can probably agree.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Another question, what would you consider one of your greatest strengths?
Again, being a team builder,
A
I
team
guess,
builder.
would be my
Mhm.
biggest strength. Yeah,
Yes,
at
yeah.
this stage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to have, especially in this type of role.
Yeah.
And my final question, do you have any hobbies that are outside of work? I know that it's obviously very important to be involved in other things and devote your time to other places besides work.
Played the piano for 20 years. I'm actually a concert pianist.
No
My
way.
hobbies, on the weekends, and I play at a local restaurant on Friday nights. Yeah.
Interesting. Which
Yeah.
restaurant?
Jubin's. Have you heard of Jubin's?
Jubin's. I have been
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yes, I have been there.
Good restaurant.
That's a very good restaurant.
Nice
That's great. Yes, great. That's
Yeah.
great to hear. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and answering all my questions. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to visit our company. Our time is almost over, but I just wanted to say that I loved how you touched on the importance of collaboration and being organized, because that is especially huge in our type of role. And I'm so glad to hear that you have such a passion for numbers and for just coming out here today and giving it your all to us.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Of course. It's so good to have you. As I stated before, everything in our interview that you said today is confidential in between us. Your stories and personal information will only be used to help our decision, our hiring process. I would love to reassure you about how amazing I think today went, and I really look forward to meeting you again and having you possibly here at our company. Thank you again for joining
Thank
me
you.
today, and I will let you know of our decision within the next few days.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.